So I'm here in the Cloud Pavilion with Avi, who is in our Linux and virtualization engineering team. Aside from having a cool accent, he actually knows quite a bit about OracleVM and virtualization, which really is one of the key underpinnings of the cloud strategy. So Avi, tell us a little bit about what you're demoing here and what's new in that space.
Well, this is the new OracleVM 3.2, which has just gone into beta. So you can download the beta from Oracle OTN Technology Network, which is great. This is the extension, the new manager. So you can see we've now added health views into the manager. So we can actually give you a live feed of what's going on in your various server pools. You can see we've got 2 server pools, both are normal, which is good. A bunch of automation improvements. So we've released the OracleVM guest editions. So you'll see that particularly in the rack templates that we released. They're probably the most fully automated build templates that we've got. One of the guy who built the rack automation actually built a 132 node rack cluster in about an hour.
Wow.
Using the automation tools. So you just give it a series of IP addresses, a cluster name, and boom, it built itself.
And I assume that's SAR you're talking about?
Yes, that is SAR.
And are you guys going to be doing anything here at Open World where the guys can actually see that in action?
They can. So we're doing the best practices for Oracle Rack on OracleVM on Wednesday in Moscone South 301. I believe it's already full, so come and stand outside the door, see if you can squeeze in. But that's at 1:15 tomorrow, well, Wednesday afternoon. I don't know when this goes up. But yes, so I go through some of the sort of Oracle VM stuff, then SAR takes you through the deploy cluster stuff that he wrote for the rack automation, and then we take some questions from the audience about how that automation works and how it works with Oracle VM as well.
And so for those of the people that aren't necessarily familiar with the terminology rack, that's our very highly available database configuration.
So that's real application clusters. That's Oracle database in an active, fault-tolerant, load-balanced mode. So you can have anywhere from 2 to, we've built it to 132 nodes. And they look like one database to your network. So from an application perspective, all 132 nodes are active. They connect to a single host name. And the cluster itself actually distributes requests throughout the cluster. If you lose a node, the entire thing keeps going. And in fact, your applications don't notice that a database node has gone away.
So obviously that type of availability is essential for if you're trying to provide a private or a public cloud for that matter.
And it's what Exadata is built on. So Exadata is in fact a rack cluster under the hood. So when you get an Exadata system, what's happening when Exadata configures itself, it's actually configuring that rack system for you. And one of the ways that we make life a little bit easier, the deploy cluster tool and the one command tool that we use for VM automation is the same tool that actually configures an Exadata.
Excellent.
So when you're going into the automation engine of the rack VM template, it's pretty much the same thing you'll see when you configure an Exadata. So we're using the same technology there. Exadata does it on bare metal. Here we're doing it in a virtual environment.
Excellent. Now, just a while ago, you were telling me about the new OracleVM guest editions.
Yes.
Is that like the VirtualBox guest editions? Slightly different? What are we talking about here?
So here, the guest editions for OracleVM Server is more around saying bilingual, but that's the wrong way, bidirectional communication between the guest and the manager itself. So this allows us to send configuration messages into the guest and read configuration back off from the guests. So you'll see, for example, once you've got the guest editions installed in VM, we see things like IP addressing information inside the manager, and we can send new configuration settings down into the guest. So you can sort of, it's tied very much into our virtual assembly builder product, which does assembly configurations. So that's part of the Fusion middleware and Fusion app stack. So there, virtual assembly builder is introspecting a WebLogic or Fusion app stack. It rebuilds them as multiple VMs. So you have database VMs, WebLogic VMs, web tier VMs, LDAP VMs. Then we can send messages from the manager to actually configure them all and send down their IP addressing information, and send down their all the plumbing information that you need between VMs. So I can tell the database, this is where my LDAP server is. I can tell the WebLogic servers, here's where my databases are. I can tell the web heads, here where my WebLogic boxes are. And I can do this at any time. It's not an initial boot thing. I can send messages down into the VMs while they're running. and I can read messages from their VMs while they're running as well. So it's bi-directional communications between the manager, and particularly through the API system that is in Oracle 3.1. You'll see in Oracle 3.2 we're going to release the command line interface to the APIs as well, so you'll be able to script this stuff, which is very nifty. All secure, so the API runs over SSH, in fact. So it's a fantastic way of now being able to script Oracle VM operations as well.
So is all of this going to be available via publicyum.oracle.com?
Yes. So you can download the beta of Oracle VM 3.2.1 off OTN now.
And that's what you're showing up here?
Yep, that's the one. And then once it's actually released GA, it'll be on Public Yum, it'll be on the Oracle Software Delivery Cloud as well. So you can get the disk images off the Software Delivery Cloud, or you can upgrade your existing systems through Public Yum and My Oracle support and that kind of stuff.
Excellent. Thanks, Avi.
You're welcome.